Chapter 33. Mindful Time Management. It is not enough to be busy. The question is, what are we busy about? Henry David Thoreau. Take care of the minutes, and the hours will take care of themselves. Lord Chesterfield. Time management is a misdemeanor. The challenge is to manage ourselves. Stephen Covey. The way you spend your time is the way you spend your life. So you need to manage it proactively in order to reflect your priorities and highest values. If you don't dedicate some of your time to your aspiration, it will never be actualized. It won't become real in the future because you haven't made it real right now. Mindful self-discipline is the art of spending your time in harmony with your highest goals and values. It's the art of living well and dying without regrets. For that purpose, developing awareness of how you spend your time is essential. That is the mindful element of time management. If you have learned the first two pillars well, you have the foundation you need to manage your time well. Time prioritization and time awareness are the keys to mindful time management, and these two are expressions of the aspiration and awareness pillars, respectively. They contain in themselves many of the classical principles of time management. Mindful time management equals time prioritization, aspiration pillar, planning and boundaries, and time awareness, awareness pillar, awareness and focus. Take a moment now to ask yourself, how satisfied are you with the way you're currently spending your time? At the end of each day, as you look back and see how you've spent your life that day, are you happy with it? If you are, that's a fulfilling life. If not, it may build up regret and frustration. To make good use of your time, you need to be purposeful about it. That involves planning, setting boundaries, being more aware, creating an environment for focus. In other words, creating structure, routine, and maintaining it. This is the theme of this chapter. Time management is a big subject, one that has been the topic of many books. I will not attempt to address the whole topic here, but I will introduce some core principles and then cover the overlaps between time management and awareness, what I call mindful time management. If you want more nitty-gritty details and a more elaborate time management system than what is presented in this chapter, I highly recommend that you study David Allen's Getting Things Done. Before we talk about the 4 core principles of mindful time management, however, a quick word on priorities. Clarify your priorities. Either you run the day or the day runs you. Jim Rohn. Work, family, self-care, health, friends, relationships, purpose, finances. We have a lot to juggle. The more roles you play in life, the more projects and commitments you embrace, the more goals you are pursuing at the same time, the harder it gets. Your time and energy are divided among so many things that you feel overwhelmed and at times cannot give each thing the attention it deserves. It feels frustrating. The first thing to do is to simplify your life. In a way, to be more pragmatic and don't assume that you can achieve everything at the same time. We all need to learn to respect our time and energy limits. To further explore this topic, I recommend you read Existentialism by Greg McNeil. It's one of my favorite self-development books. If you want to create more space for your aspirations, you will need to give up certain things. As we covered in Chapter 13, you will need to make a sacrifice, letting go of things of lesser value for your aspirations, for example. Letting go of spending an hour on social media every day so that you can instead dedicate that time to an activity that promotes your goal. If, as an experiment, you let go of half your activities, you will discover a startling fact. The other half gets the double the energy and attention. You will progress much more quickly in the half that remained and also derive much more satisfaction from it. This is time prioritization. You increase the amount of time and energy dedicated to activities that promote your goals and values and diminish the time and energy you allocate to everything else. Or perhaps even omit a bunch of activities altogether. You make these decisions using your core values and goals as a compass, as you learned in the aspiration pillar. Regardless of how well you are able to follow the guideline of simplicity and sacrifice, you will still have to juggle a few different things in your life, which means that you will need to master the 4 elements of mindful time management. The more complex your life is, the more you'll need these skills. Element number 1, planning. Productivity is never an accident. It is always the result of a commitment to excellence, intelligent planning, and focused effort. Paul J. Meyer. If you don't plan your time, someone else will help you waste it. Zig Ziglar. Planning how you will spend your time enables you to live more by design and makes sure that all of the important things get covered every day. Not planning, on the other hand, means that you will live more reactively. You are much more likely to be distracted, fragment your attention across many, apparently urgent tasks, be constantly interrupted, and feel more tired at the end of the day. There are 2 types of time planning, fixed and flexible. In the fixed version, you plan once and rarely touch it. For example, your morning and night routines. See Chapter 35. The rest of this section is about the other type, flexible planning, which changes from day to day. To effectively plan how you will spend your time, you need to dedicate a few minutes at the start of each day, or the night before, to decide what are the most important things you need to do that day, how you will keep them a priority, and what you can do to make your day run more smoothly. Let's now dive into each of these 3. Reflection number 1. What are my priorities today? In living the self-disciplined life, your goals and aspirations will be your ongoing priorities. They will be present in your schedule every day in one form or the other. But there will likely also be other priorities in your life that will vary from day to day. Besides, within each area of your life, you will also have to prioritize among the various competing activities. Here are 3 questions you can use to clarify your priorities every morning. What will I do to advance my aspirations today? What are the 3 most important tasks that I want to complete today? What task, if completed, will most contribute to my well-being? If you are currently working toward more than one aspiration, then choose at least one task for each. They don't need to be huge, but it is highly desirable that they are there in your day, 7 days a week. It could be doing 10 minutes of reading, or making a phone call, or choosing to eat a salad and skip the dessert. Don't let a day pass without you taking a step forward toward your aspirations. As to the second question, there are different frameworks you can use to decide on your most important task. Stephen Covey, in his classic, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, talks about the first things first principle and classifies activities into 4 quadrants based on their urgency and importance. Here is my reading of it. And here's a little chart. You might find it useful to apply this classification to your list of tasks and activities in order to gain clarity. Your priorities for the day will almost always come from the first row. Another way to answer this question is to apply the 80-20 rule, also known as Pareto's principle. This principle says that 80% of your results come from 20% of your activities. What you need to do then is identify what are those 20% of activities that bring the most results and make them your priority. This works in all areas of life: work, relationships, hobbies, and even spirituality. The third question is often not considered when people talk about priorities and time management. Since we are talking about mindful self-discipline, it makes sense that you also need to consider the impact that certain tasks, if not tackled, will have on your well-being. Perhaps a given task is not as important than others on your to-do list, nor as urgent, but it's a sticky thought in your mind that won't let you focus wholeheartedly on anything else until you complete that task. It might be a good idea to make it a priority today. Reflection number 2. How will I keep my priorities today? After you decide what you need to prioritize, it's time to consider how you will do it. Here are the questions you can use for this purpose. What will I need to skip, postpone, or delegate in order to focus on my priorities? What distractions and interruptions will likely happen, and how will I deal with them? How can I make sure that my priority tasks will get done? The first question helps you decide what will not get done. Being clear on that means that you will feel less overwhelmed. This frees up headspace to focus on your chosen priorities for the day. The second question is about anticipating challenges and deciding beforehand how you will tackle them if they arise. This is something most people don't consider, and it's the cause of much frustration. See Contingency Plan, Chapter 30. For example, what happens if one of your tasks, which was supposed to take 30 minutes, takes 2 hours? What happens if you arrive late at work? What happens if you feel tired and demotivated? What happens if somebody asks you for help with their own projects and priorities? Or if the person who was supposed to contribute didn't do their part? What will you do if you get constantly distracted or interrupted? You need to know how to respond to each possible challenge, otherwise the pressures of the moment may influence you to make a decision that you will later regret. You might need to let other people know that you will be unavailable during certain times of the day. You might need to put your phone in airplane mode so there are no distractions. You might need to allocate more time to a particular activity or arrive at work earlier. You might need to decide to do the hardest thing earlier in the day when you have more mental energy available, a technique known as eating the frog. Eat a live frog first thing in the morning, and nothing worse will happen to you the rest of the day. Mark Twain. Planning doesn't mean that things will happen according to your expectations. They very often will not. But it does skew reality in your favor and increase your chances of successfully completing your tasks. The third question, how can I make sure that my priority tasks will get done, is all about budgeting your time and then respecting the time slots you have allocated for each task. This could mean, for example, deciding that today you only have 1 hour to spend on email and admin tasks. Once that hour is done, you stop and move on to something else, even if there are still pending emails waiting for you. For time budgeting, your calendar and alarm clocks are your best friends. Make use of them and respect their notifications. More about this in element number 3, awareness. By allocating a time budget to different activities and goals, you are making sure that all areas of your work and personal life get due attention without taking time away from other priority tasks of your day. In my night routine, spending 2 hours of quality time with my wife and daughter is a priority for me, but so is getting to sleep on time. Otherwise, my precious morning routine can get out of whack. That means if we decide to watch a 2-hour movie 1 hour into my family time, then one of two things will happen. We will continue the other half tomorrow, or they will finish watching it that night without me. That is because I am aware of my time budgets, and getting to sleep on time is a priority for me. Knowing and respecting your time slots will allow you to attend to all the different areas of your life according to your priorities, while still feeling in control of your schedule. Reflection number 3. How can I make things run more smoothly today? As you are planning for your day today, consider, is stress possibly booked into my day? If it is, you might want to find a way to remove it by making some simple changes. The first one is by looking for a possible clash of schedules. Do you have overlapping meetings? Do you need to be in two places at the same time? Do you need to cram a 1-hour meeting into a 40 minutes so you are not late for the next item on your list? Do you need to multitask 3 different activities just to stay on top of your schedule? If so, you are expecting too much from yourself, or you have underestimated the task, both of which result in frustration more often than not. See if there is anything you can do to simplify things. That may involve rescheduling certain appointments, delegating tasks, postponing something, or deciding that some things are just not worth the effort. Knowing your priorities helps you decide what to keep and what to let go. The second change you can make to help your day run smoother is to schedule breaks and downtime. This means including space in your day for rest, pause, and self-care. If you struggle to do that because you are a type A personality wanting to make the most use of every minute, welcome to the club. Then force yourself to go slower by scheduling in about 10 to 20% more time than you think each task will demand. Assume that things will take longer than you expect them to, so you include a buffer. When you get a minute of downtime here and there, you don't need to unlock your phone. It's okay to also just be, to just breathe, to just do nothing. Slowing down like this is an important part of mindful self-discipline. It keeps your mind clear, replenishes your willpower and awareness, and helps you stay focused on what's most important. The third change is to remove friction from your activities as much as possible by streamlining your processes. Rory Vaden, in his TEDx talk, How to Multiply Your Time, talks about giving yourself the emotional permission to spend time on things today that will give you more time tomorrow. This could mean spending an afternoon finding and migrating to a better calendar app so that all future work of scheduling appointments and checking for conflicts happens more smoothly. It could mean, to use Vaden's example, spending 2 hours to set up online payment for your bills so you can save a little bit of time every month when making payments. It could mean finding a better pair of running shoes or a better meditation cushion so that every minute of your effort in those activities is more pleasant and effective. It could even mean cleaning your office, changing where you eat, or getting a new nanny. Removing friction and clutter is a more long-term strategy and doesn't often feel like a priority. It's not really important or urgent, but it will make your life easier. It might even multiply your time or the output of your efforts. And here's a little chart. Element number 2, boundaries. Your time is limited, so don't waste it living someone else's life. Steve Jobs. You may create the best schedule in the world, but if you don't follow through, all you have is just a wish list. It is essential then that you protect your time from other people's demands, and this is what the second element is about. Unlike money, time is a non-renewable resource. It's the stuff life is made of. Protecting your time requires observing the simple and yet often challenging discipline of saying no. Saying no to other people offloading their responsibilities onto you. Saying no to meaningless meetings and needless tasks. Saying no to answering a phone call during your exercise time or checking emails while at the family dinner. Saying no to even some good things that come at the wrong time. Every decision has a cost. Every decision matters. Every decision is either a +1 or a -1 in your life. Oftentimes, saying yes to a request is saying no to your aspiration. So don't be afraid to say no. Saying no keeps you in control. It allows you to live your best life, show up as your best self, and decide what things really matter to you. If you can't say no to others, you can't be disciplined because you are not in control of your time and energy. As a result, you can't be effective in your task and you can't live a life of authenticity. You unconsciously relinquish your priorities and gravitate toward other people's. The end result is often regret for missed opportunities, frustration for lack of progress, and resentment for unreciprocated kindness. Saying no is that important. So commit to learning this important skill. Practice saying no in a graceful yet assertive way. This often requires separating your decision from the relationship with the person asking for your time. You are saying no to the request, not the person. It is not a rejection of that person, but of a commitment. The author of the book Essentialism recommends the following scripts for saying no. I'm afraid I don't have the bandwidth. Sorry, I'm overcommitted at the moment. I'm going to pass on this. Not now, but maybe later. I can't do X, but you might want to try Y. At work. Yes, I can make this a priority. Which of these other projects should I deprioritize for that? If you are bold, you can even try this. When a request comes your way, remain silent for several seconds. Almost always, the other person then fills in the gap, giving you an easy way out. I mean, just if you have nothing to do. If not, it's okay. I know you're busy. Saying no is not selfish. In a society obsessed with fitting in, with people-pleasing, saying no to other people's requests for your time when not in line with your goals or values is a great gift you give to others. Every time you say no like that, you give them permission to be equally focused and purposeful. You normalize freedom and personal space. You help create a culture of authenticity. Element number 3, awareness. This is the key to time management, to see the value of every moment. Menachem Mendel Schneerson. I'm so sorry I slaughtered your name, sir. In element number 2, you learned how to protect your time from other people's demands. Now let's talk about how to protect your schedule from your own monkey mind with its forgetfulness and distractions. Almost everyone struggles with this to some extent. If you have ADD, attention deficit disorder, you struggle with this even more. Protect your time from others by saying no liberally, and from yourself by developing time awareness. You can't follow your schedule if you forget your schedule, or if you get distracted with something else. So effective time management, mindful time management, requires constant time awareness. The way to practice this is to always watch your time, to pay attention to time, to be aware of time. And for this, make your calendar and your watch your best allies. Check them multiple times a day to make sure you stay on track. For example, if you have scheduled a 20-minute break in the middle of your afternoon, watching your time means that when you begin to break your know that you only have 20 minutes, when you begin the break, you know that you only have 20 minutes. You thus decide on how to spend your time during that break accordingly. It means that you are checking the time constantly to make sure you don't go beyond the limits you have set for yourself, or you start a countdown timer at the beginning of your break. It means that you are aware that after 20 minutes, you need to be doing something else. Without this type of awareness, the monkey mind will make a mess out of your schedule. It will say something like this: I'll just quickly check my email and then get back to writing. I'll snooze just this time. I'll take a break for 10 minutes and then resume my work. I'll just finish this 5-minute task and then I'll get ready for the gym. I'll check Instagram for a few minutes and then I'll go to bed. I'll just watch one episode. I can take a few more minutes and I'm sure it'll still be there on time. When this happens, how likely is it for you to stick to your plan? If you are like most people, not very. In the technique of Shift Your Focus, Chapter 18, we spoke about the need to realize that long-term costs of small decisions. Time awareness is a practical application of this. We all know that these apparently inconsequential decisions usually involve much longer time commitments than it seems. To be fully aware of the consequences of certain decisions, you need to become acutely aware of the time that they will take. Time awareness. Many people talk about time management without talking about time awareness. However, self-discipline becomes really difficult without time awareness, and following a routine becomes a frustrating pursuit. I've had several self-discipline clients who struggle to follow even a simple routine. After some time working together, they come to a point where they are constantly following a somewhat elaborate routine. One of these clients once told me, "It's like you have installed this program in my brain that helps me be constantly aware of time, thinking of my next steps, and how to be ready for it." They had to track their activities against a fixed schedule that represented their priorities, and they knew that they would be asked about it in every session as we zoomed in to what happened in the past week, day after day. This is the power of developing time awareness. Without it, you simply can't follow a schedule. And if you can't follow a schedule, you can't guarantee that your priorities will be respected and your aspirations honored. If you don't pay attention to how you spend your money, you'll run out of it and live in debt. If you don't pay attention to how you spend your time, you'll also run out of it and live in regret. You will need to pay it back sooner or later, often with interest in the form of the emotional pain of delayed projects, self-criticism, and overwhelm. You cannot endlessly borrow time against your future self with impunity. Time awareness enables you to always be a step ahead. You are aware of what comes next on your schedule, and you know what you need to do to be ready for it. You are aware of what you are supposed to be doing right now and how much time you have left in your current time slot. You don't go overboard. You don't start a 2-hour movie an hour before your desired sleep time. No, you don't need to live every moment of your life like this. That would not be balanced or desirable. But if you're like most people, chances are that you can greatly benefit from being a bit more purposeful about how you spend your time. When you are mindful of how long each activity takes and accept the natural limitations of time, then you are able to make better decisions about how you spend your day, and you will feel less overwhelmed. Be aware of time. It's the stuff your life is made of. Practical considerations. Developing time awareness is about developing the habit to constantly check the time, consider the amount of time each activity might take, and be aware of what comes next on your schedule. One thing you can do to help develop this habit is to put your schedule on a spreadsheet and daily mark it on what you have done or not and the time you have started each activity. Then review it at the end of the day and again at the end of the week. Notice the patterns. This will help you develop time awareness pretty quickly. It will also help you become better at estimating how long each activity takes. I know keeping track of time is boring, perhaps even extremely boring, but important nevertheless. What doesn't get measured doesn't get managed. There is no time management without time awareness. And since time is life, not making good use of your time leads to the feeling of regret, of not actualizing your aspirations, which is the ultimate consequence of a lack of self-discipline. Another thing that can help is when starting a break or a type of activity that usually sucks your time, Turn on a countdown timer on your phone for the desired amount of time you wish to allocate this activity. Make sure that the volume is loud enough so that it won't be ignored. You can also leave your phone several steps away from you to prevent yourself from automatically snoozing the timer. That will help you break the pattern of mindlessly wasting time and will give your rational brain the opportunity to kick in and remind you of your goals and schedule. Element number 4, focus. The successful warrior is the average man with laser-like focus. Bruce Lee. If you plan your time, protect your time, and monitor your time, you will then have a solid routine. You will show up on time to the task that you have chosen for yourself and respect the boundaries of each time block. You will go through the motions, yet you may still not feel that you are making the best use of your time. The final piece of the puzzle is about the quality and effectiveness of each of your activities. For you to get the most out of each activity, you need to be focused, which means doing one thing at a time without constant interruptions and changes of direction. It means to be fully present and engaged in each activity rather than just doing it mechanically. Don't let it be just an item on your to-do list that you are eager to tick off and move on. Make it count. Being 100% present with what you are doing brings a whole new quality to your activity. You become more effective. You enter a state of flow more easily. You feel more connected with the activity and more satisfied at the end. The biggest enemy of our focus in modern life is arguably the internet, or rather, the mindless use of the internet. This happens when, instead of using our devices as tools that support our life, we use them as tools for distraction. Our devices then constantly pull us away from the task of the present moment by means of notifications, messages, sounds, and the luring temptation of a quick dopamine rush just a tap away. Developing focus is one of the main benefits of having a regular meditation practice. And just as in the meditation session, focusing means keeping your attention where you want it to be for prolonged periods of time and snoozing the distractions that come up. This is similar to the not now technique. Chapter 29. Snooze distractions. The key element to overcome the challenge of distraction is awareness. When you are focused and a distraction comes up, you have the option to indulge in it or not. Every time you indulge in it, you are training your mind to be scattered. Every time you refrain from it, you are training your mind to be disciplined. The problem is that we are often unaware of these daily chores and just mindlessly going from one shiny object to the next. Let's illustrate this with an example. Suppose you are doing an important research for a project, be it personal or work-related. Then one of the following things happens. Your phone dings and flashes with a notification of a new email. Will you take a quick peek, or will you remain focused? You get a phone call from a family member. Will you pick it up for a quick chat, or will you remain focused? You see an ad on your favorite search engine promoting the new effortless way to achieve your goal for only $1. Will you click it, or will you remain focused? An interesting idea about an unrelated project pops up in your head. Will you stop what you are doing and jump into that, or will you leave it for later and remain focused? You suddenly remember a delicious food item you have in the fridge. Will you walk to the kitchen for a quick snack, or will you remain focused? You always have the choice to remain focused and disciplined, but you are not always aware of it. And when you are not aware of it, you can't choose it. Know that you have the power to snooze every distraction. You may not be able to do it every time, at least not yet, but having a clear intention to do so will help a lot. It also helps to make your physical and digital environment more focus-friendly by removing all possible distractions. This could mean cleaning up your desk, turning off phone notifications, working out in the basement of your home, where there's no Wi-Fi, turning off the TV while talking to your partner, etc. You may have strong willpower to resist temptations, but if possible, it is often better to just not have them around, and you can save the cognitive cost of registering them to just go and ignore them. Practice focused work. A simple way to implement this concept of snoozing distractions is by working in short, focused batches of time, something that Francesco Cirillo in the late 1980s called the Pomodoro technique. In his version of this method, you set a timer for 25 minutes, and for that period of time, you work with absolute focus on a single task, without distractions and without multitasking. Then you take a 5-minute break. The Pomodoro technique is a great start if you struggle a lot with distractions, but please don't stop there. We are capable of much more than 25 minutes of undistracted work. There is no reason why you shouldn't be able to follow the same principle for 1 or 2 hours. You'll get there with practice. In any case, the principle is just the same. Make a resolution to stick with one task until it's done. Then stick to it until it's done. In the meantime, snooze whatever distractions come. You can either commit to a specific task, example, write 1,000 words, regardless of how long it takes, or commit to a time period, example, write for 1 hour, regardless of how much actually gets done. The latter is easier and more schedule-friendly. It is what I personally follow. If you're going with the time commitment approach, decide how long you will spend fully focused on that single task, and then turn on a countdown timer on your phone and work exclusively on that project until the timer goes off. Protect your time from all internal and external distractions and stick to your activity. While the timer is running, do nothing except the task that you have decided to focus on. It doesn't matter how small is the period of your time you decided to start with, but only that you follow the exclusive focus rule with no exceptions. Be inflexible with all distractions and interruptions. This is the only way that it's going to work. Of course, there is a risk of something bad happening, and then if you don't act immediately, then you can make an exception. Otherwise, no distractions or interruptions are allowed. What happens to all things that you snooze during your focused work time? It is important to allocate some time in your day to catch up with all those small tasks, ideally all at once. Bundle together all the small interruptions, all the 1-minute things, all the fragmented attention activities, and fake urgencies. Tackle it all in 15 or 30-minute slots of time once or twice a day. This allows you to be unconcerned about those shallow tasks at all other times and not let them interrupt your flow during your other activities. In my own life, after 2 hours of focused writing work early in the morning, I go and tackle all the admin tasks and small errands, what author Cal Newport would call shallow work. After that, I then close my Gmail task, and for the rest of the day, I am again free to do more focused work. If, during focused work, I get ideas about other projects or remember stuff I have to do, I get these out of my mind by writing them down and then immediately get back to my focused work. This works really well for me, and you might want to try something similar. Once you become proficient in the techniques of focused work and snoozing distractions, then you can try something that no self-disciplined newbie should ever dare: to welcome interruptions selectively. This is playing with fire, of course. You can do this when you are confident in your ability to control yourself and quickly get refocused, and save it for interruptions that are worth it. I was actually not planning to include the above paragraph in this book, but as I was writing this section, I got interrupted by my wife, who needed help with something. Yes, ironically, the interruption happens when I'm writing about working without interruptions. I was able to attend to her and quickly come back to my train of thought. However, even with all my meditation training, I would not expect to be able to always do this with impunity, and there was still a cognitive cost to that switch. Bottom line, stick to strict rules for your focused worked periods of time as much as possible, especially in the beginning. Again, it's not possible nor balanced to attempt to do this for all your waking hours, but you will find it especially useful when you need to do work that requires a lot of cognitive power, or if you tend to be easily distracted. Avoid multitasking. With our modern technology and fast-paced lifestyle, it is so tempting to multitask. It is easy, often pleasant, and it feels as if we're making progress. It can feel like we are getting more things done and staying ahead of our time, so we quickly glance at our notifications while in a meeting, talk on the phone while we eat a sandwich, check Twitter while we're watching a movie, and keep our inbox open while going through that boring research. In truth, however, multitasking is a myth. When people think they're multitasking, they're actually just switching from one task to another very rapidly, and every time they do, there's a cognitive cost. Earl Miller, neuroscientist. One study from the University of London showed that multitasking while performing cognitive tasks represented a drop of 10 points in IQ, the same as if you had skipped a full night of sleep. Ouch. Multitasking makes you less effective, not more effective. It trains your brain to stay on the surface of things. It prevents you from going into a state of flow, which is where your best work can come from. It prevents you from being fully present and picking up the non-verbal cues of the person you are talking to. It prevents you from focusing on your muscles while you are doing a leg press at the gym, which means that your muscles are less engaged and you're also more prone to get injured. Every time you multitask, you make it harder for yourself to focus. The only thing you get by multitasking is training your brain to be better at scattered, superficial work. Focused work, like meditation, requires exclusive attention to a single thing and the willingness to let go of everything else, at least for the time being. Key points. Intro. Your time is your life. If you don't dedicate some of your time to your aspiration, it will never be actualized. Mindful self-discipline is the art of spending your time in harmony with your highest goals and values. Making good use of your time involves planning it, protecting it, and creating an environment for focus. Your first task is to simplify your life so that you feel less overwhelmed and scattered across different roles and commitments. This will require you to let go of things of lesser value for the sake of your aspirations. Element number 1, planning. There's planning that you do once and rarely touch it, your fixed schedules such as your morning routine, and there is planning that you do daily, your flexible schedule. For the flexible schedule, you will need to dedicate a few minutes at the start of each day or the night before to decide what are the most important things you need to do that day, how you will keep them a priority, and what you can do to make your day run more smoothly. The first reflection for planning your time is, what are my priorities today? Consider your aspirations, your 3 most important tasks, and what task, if completed, will most contribute to your well-being. The second reflection is, how will I keep my priorities today? Think about what will not get done, how to avoid distractions and interruptions, and budget your time so that you make sure your priorities get covered. The third reflection is, how can I make things run more smoothly today? This involves resolving clashes of schedule ahead of time, scheduling breaks and downtime, and removing friction from your activities. Element number 2, boundaries. Protecting your time requires observing the very simple and yet often challenging discipline of saying no. Every decision has a cost. Every decision matters. Oftentimes, saying yes to a request is saying no to your aspiration. You can't say no. You can't be self-disciplined. Saying no keeps you in control. Separate the decision from the relationship with the person making the request. Say no assertively, but graciously. See examples. Saying no is not selfish. In a society obsessed with fitting in and people-pleasing, saying no to others' requests for your time when not in line with your goals or values is a great gift you give to them. Every time you say no like that, you give them permission to be equally focused and purposeful. Element number 3, awareness. You can't follow your schedule if you forget your schedule or get distracted with something else. Effective time management requires constant time awareness. The way to practice this is to always watch your time. Make your calendar and your watch your best friends. Check them multiple times a day to see if you are on track. Time awareness allows you to be ahead of what comes next on your schedule and know what you need to do to be ready for it. You are aware of what you're supposed to be doing now and how much time you have left in your current time slot. You don't go overboard. You don't start a 2-hour movie an hour before your desired sleep time. Consider using time logging spreadsheets and countdown timers to help you develop time awareness. Element number 4, focus. Improve the quality of your activities by avoiding distractions and being wholeheartedly present. Meditation practice helps with this. The biggest obstacle for most of us is the mindless use of the internet and our devices. This happens when our devices cease to be used as tools that enhance our life and instead function as tools of distraction, pulling us away from the task of the present moment through notifications, messages, etc. The key element to overcome the challenge of distraction is awareness. When you are focused and a distraction comes up, you have the option to engage in that distraction or not. Every time you indulge in the distraction, you are training your mind to be scattered. Every time you refuse it, you are training your mind to be disciplined. Know that you have the power to snooze distractions. You always have a choice to remain focused. You may not be able to do it every time, at least not yet, but having a clear intention to do it will help a lot. Work in short, focused batches of time during which you remain absolutely focused on a single task, with no distractions or multitasking allowed. You can start by using the Pomodoro protocol for this. Bundle all trivial tasks, interruptions, and small errands to be dealt with together once or twice a day. Ignore them when they come up and at other times during the day, or make note of them for later. Look at this fly trying to distract me. But I gotta turn the page, baby. Bye-bye. Chapter 34.